And in what was reported as news, courts all over the country will be grounded on Wednesday, tomorrow, after the Law Society of Kenya announced a countrywide boycott in an escalation of the standoff between lawyers and the judiciary. On one hand, the LSK's counsel cited persistent graft and misconduct in the judiciary, while on the other, separate sources within the Judicial Service Commission, the judiciary, and the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association accused the society of calling the kettle black. In this case, the society is the pot, and withholding crucial information on the grievances they raise. Now, if I can go just a little bit further, the LSK says that there's severe case backlogs, judicial corruption, e-filing failures, and you've announced this boycott, while the judiciary insists all courts will remain open and operational. The judiciary spokesperson, Paul Ndemo, declared that all courts will remain fully open to protect litigants, resolving a record and as they had done in the previous years. Okay, Mr. President, somebody's got to be in their bonnet. What's going on?
I think Kenyans are aware of the various challenges with the judiciary. We are not disclosing to Kenyans what they don't know. They're aware of it. And the Law Society of Kenya is a foremost partner in engaging the judiciary to deal with these issues. So we use a lot of boardroom engagements, including court users committees and bar bench committees, to try and get reforms in the judiciary. And if you look at the statement that LSK issued last week on Friday, we've also issued another statement yesterday. We have emphasized that that process will continue. But LSK is frustrated. Lawyers are very frustrated that we keep receiving or getting the runaround. That we raise issues and the progress is inadequate. So there are some persistent problems in the judiciary that we need to highlight, and that this boycott is going to help us to highlight, because it is a form of industrial action. It is protected under Article 37 and Article 41 of the Constitution. It is a form of protest by lawyers. Litigants go to court and they seek the assistance of lawyers. So the reason lawyers are protesting is because they are found they are not able to assist their litigants because of some persistent problems in the judiciary. And the biggest monster that we are trying to tackle now is corruption. And there have been so many studies, even perception indices by people like Transparency International, Kenya chapter, that have shown that the amount of corruption in the judiciary is beyond where it should be. Even EACC has done their own study. Even in meetings we've had with the judiciary leadership, they have acknowledged that there are challenges, and they've asked us to assist them in dealing with them. But one of the problems we find is when now lawyers or their clients, litigants, raise complaints with the institution that is meant to process those complaints, the Judicial Service Commission. Some judges rush to court to stop the Judicial Service Commission from doing its job. So it has reached a point where you have a parallel jurisprudence. Jurisprudence is a reasoning or thinking of the court. Any other case where people go to court, employees going to court to stop disciplinary processes of employers, state officers going to court to stop processes of, I don't know, the National Assembly or the Senate for impeachment, county assembly, and so on. The court says face the process because there are institutional safeguards. If you are not satisfied with the institutional safeguards, you can then come to us on review or appeal. But that is the jurisprudence touching everyone else. But now when it comes to some judges or judicial officers, they get indefinite injunctions that last for years on end, stopping them from facing accountability. So these are some of the things that are happening that the Law Society of Kenya is saying enough. The judiciary knows that every judge has to be has to have the reputation of Caesar's wife, to be above suspicion. And that is what is expected by the oath of office and the judicial code of conduct for judges. So some of these things that are happening are the ones that are having a very deleterious effect on integrity and accountability. And I hasten to add, majority of the judges are doing well in difficult circumstances. So when we highlight the question of the boycott, we are highlighting it because some of the challenges are institutional. They don't relate to an individual judge. They're institutional, but they still need to be dealt with by the institution of the judiciary. So we are not by any case saying that majority of the judges or judicial officers have a problem. In fact, as LSK, we know that judges and judicial officers are lawyers, just like us. They are our colleagues. Some of them work very hard in difficult circumstances. They deliver justice for Kenyans who need the justice, and they need to be applauded. But we are saying that if there are any rotten apples, and rotten apples are everywhere, even in the Law Society of Kenya, we have rotten apples, and we have our own strategy in this council that I'm part of, the Law Society of Kenya Council, to also deal with challenges within the legal profession, to expedite the advocates' disciplinary processes. So as we are dealing with our own challenges, which are there, we are saying that we also need to deal with the challenges of the judiciary, because the judiciary are an arm of government. Actually, they're the last arm or organ of government Kenyans go to when everything else has failed. You know, they are meant to be the ones protecting the constitution. So if some elements within the structure of the judiciary then undermine constitutional protections, it becomes a big issue. Chapter 10 of the Constitution is on the judiciary, and it highlights two important qualities or principles of the judiciary for them to work effectively. One is the independence of the judiciary, and the second is accountability of the judiciary. The two go together. You can't have independent that is untrammeled or unrestrained by accountability. In fact, that is a false kind of independence. So LSK will always be there to fight and reaffirm the independence of the judiciary. To fight for and reaffirm the independence of the judiciary. We are always the first people to blow the whistle. But what we are saying is that independence is at the service of accountability. And if some judicial officers or judges undermine the very accountability structures that exist, like the Judicial Service Commission, and we are not then able to use court process to secure accountability, then we must use the other process, which is Article 37 and 41, the rights that lawyers have relating to protest and relating to industrial action.